Hey, back with another garden update. Let's get to it. Alrighty, I'll try and give you guys a quick garden update here. I was away on a work trip and my wife was at home taking care of the garden, and I dare to say she did an awesome job of doing so. I'm looking around, see everything's much bigger than it was in the previous video. So I'll start over here. I've not ripped up this bed yet and replanted it, and part of the reason is that I like having these little greens here, the beet greens. Some of the beets, they can grow that big, so I left them in the ground. I know that the roots are probably going to be woody and hard, but I'm okay with just eating the tops and eating the greens and getting several cuts of that. So that's kind of what I'm doing here with some of those. I will plant some more either lettuces or kales in this bed for the fall and winter harvests. The sunflowers that are in here are getting bigger. Most of them have started flowering. That one's not quite there yet, but this one is. As you guys can see, it's starting to flower anyways. See if I can get a better angle. There we go. To step around some stuff. So you can see that one starting to flower. Looks good. There's some tomatoes in this bed that are underripe. See if I can find where those are. Here they are. So you see those are a little still green, but they'll be ripening up soon because I saw some on the other side of the house that are starting to ripen up. So tomatoes will be there soon. In the next bed, I started germinating some carrots and beets, and I only got a couple of the beets to start germinating, so I'm going to have to redo these rows of beets. I think it just wasn't wet enough on the surface of the soil. But the carrots, for whatever reason, did just fine. Like, nice. You can see each row of the carrots all the way through. So I'm good on the carrots for this bed, and that'll be nice, even if that's the only thing that gets done out of here. That sunflower there is doing fine also. As you see, it's turned towards the sun and loving the garden. So anyways, moving on. This next bed is the one that has all the greens in it, and you can tell a lot of this is going to seed, which means the greens are really pretty much inedible. They're so bitter. You wouldn't want to do anything with them. You wouldn't want to juice them, wouldn't want to do anything with it. So I'll chop those, make that into compost, which will be fine. And the rest of the stuff that's really leafy and green, we'll go ahead and eat that because that'll be fine. That stuff isn't too bitter yet. There's some tomato plants in here, and as you can see, there's some bigger chard plants and some kale plants that are in here that are still going really strong here in the summer. So that's all really good. No issues there. This one's starting to get eaten up a little bit, but whatever. One sacrificial lamb to have a nice full bed of garden, a full bed of greens. I think I'm okay with that. So anyways, onto the squash bed. This bed is kind of exploded. I showed you from back further how far these things were going up the trellis, and they're just exploding. I've got 3 vining types, 3 vining squashes, that is. Here's one of them. I think that one's a winter squash, so waiting for that to ripen up. And then on the other side, I'm trying to show you guys real quick. There's that one there that's not quite ripe enough. And this one here, which I think is close. That one I think is close. Not sure if it's there yet or not, so I'll do some research and stick my thumbnail into it and kind of gauge that way. I know the thumbnail thing is supposed to be a test, but I don't know what I'm feeling for, so I'll have to look that up first before I do that. At any rate, there's still some zucchini squashes in here also. Let's see, there's one. I got to cut that right now. I know it's not morning time, it's afternoon, but they're big enough and I want them to keep producing. So, and there's another one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut both of those down. These other ones that are really huge, nice big plants, nice and healthy, they stopped producing, and I think the reason is because they made a really big squash that had seeded, and because of that I think the plant just decided it was done producing, like it had done its job, and that's it. So next year I'll make sure to be out here every day and not let that big squash sort of happen, because that kind of ruins the season. Okay, moving on to this bed. Beautiful flowers in this bed. My wife actually made herself a nice little bouquet to take inside the house, and So she did with the flowers on that side, and I think she plucked a lot of them from this side too. We got some of those pinks, and I think there's a blue there. There's some blue flowers down in there and stuff. So really pretty, but on top of just being pretty, they're bringing in lots of pollinators. I've been seeing butterflies, I'm seeing lots of bees and wasps and all sorts of things coming in to spread the pollen, and that's what I need. Spreading the pollen for the watermelons and the other melon plants that I have here, and they're doing fine coming up the trellis. You can see some of the yellow flowers there, and they're starting to make some really tiny fruits. So in a couple weeks I'll be able to show you something hopefully a little bit more substantial. It won't be a full melon by any chance, but hopefully something a little bit bigger. Same thing over here. These plants are doing really well, going up, and I've seen lots of little tiny melons. There's one that's bigger. I think it's on the other side, so I'm not going to worry about it, but there's one that's growing that's doing pretty good. And as you see, it's about at eye level climbing up the trellis, so I know it'll get plenty of sunlight as it goes up there. Let's see if I can find that one. Oh, here it is. You might not be able to see it in the video there, but attached to that flower, yeah, right on the other side of that flower, you can see that little melon there. So at any rate, got one there. I've got more melons over here, the honeydew style, but this is a much smaller plant for whatever reason. There it is. So not quite producing melons yet, but because I see that it's hitting that sun, the sun's hitting that in the right spot, seems like. I think I'll have fruits on that here pretty soon, even though it's not that big of a plant. I see it's vined out and it's really stretching for that sun, so that's a good thing. Those are good things. So yeah, I'll have melons. And lastly in this bed are the sunflowers, and these are taller than me. Ooh, got some on my hand. Taller than me at this point, and definitely flowering. You can see that there. And the other one also flowering also. So that'll attract some more pollinators, and of course I'll get the microgreen. Alright, last but not least, I'll show you guys these tomatoes that I have on the side of the house. And they've kind of taken over the area, so I need to definitely start tying them up and pinning them up, especially before they start getting into my neighbor's yard. I don't think they care too much, but I certainly want to be respectful of their property, so I'll make sure to get these pinned up. I can tell that some of these down here, because they're getting both that morning and evening sun, I think these are starting to ripen up. So you can see that purple underneath there. Those are ripened tomatoes. So I'll pluck that area here pretty soon. Everything else I'll just pin up, and I'll just wait and see everything ripen. So that's the garden update. Hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to see more in the future.